Welcome back to the Blame Game for week 4 of this summer split. This weekend was a bit of a jolt to some narratives because people were kind of dismissing IMT before their 2-0. Similarly, people were ready for P1 to turn the page before they got upset by Liquid. Another storyline that kind of got derailed was the return of Echo Fox Keith. He was having a little bit of a bounce back season before the TSM series where he made a couple of mistakes. It is a little bit strange to say that Keith is having a bounce back season, but you need to keep it within the context of his performance in previous splits. His laning stats and his DPM are among the worst in the league, so it's not like he's become a different player or anything. He still doesn't receive a ton of help from his team in jungle as they very understandably prioritize getting the other 2 lanes ahead. It's just that the biggest problems that Keith was having in previous splits, like mispositioning late game and dying really early in team fights, seem to no longer be that big of an issue this split. When you think of Echo Fox throws, it's much more about Baron problems than Keith getting caught. Things like this Dragon setup are a much bigger problem for the team, where they completely abandon mid lane to wrap through their own jungle to come out the bottom side to contest Dragon. Now overall, this is fine if you feel like you can't actually contest the mid lane, but you really need all 5 members to get around to that side because with Keith and Gate stuck in the mid lane, it just opens themselves up to get engaged on by TSM. It's hard to know who to fault in these team errors, even though it is Keith going down here. All that said, I think the blame is still justified for the most part in this series. In game 1, when it was still kind of close, he gets blown up early in this team fight as Haunter has a very telegraphed TP coming in. In game 2, he gets obliterated by TSM's bot lane, which dramatically warps the game state as Echo Fox was actually getting a lot of work done on the other sides of the map. They end up trading a lot of turrets, which allows Keith to stabilize, and in the mid game, they actually outplay TSM for the most part. The problem is these plays should be ballooning an existing lead from 2k to 5k, as opposed to creating one from 0 to 3k. The true nail in the coffin, though, is once again their Baron control. Until they're able to fix their late game shot calling, Echo Fox will always be a bit of a bottom dwelling team, and not just because of Keith. The other topic this week comes from the CLG vs Immortals series. A lot of fans were critical of CLG's usage of the split pushing Queen Fiora and thought that they were taking too many team fights. Oh boy, yeah, this game had a lot of stuff wrong with it. Now, we know that the team struggles with split pushing given the fact that the Fiora was not actually able to take a turret by herself, and in an interview in their later series, Darshan admitted that the team struggled with knowing exactly when to split push versus fight. Now that said, I'm not convinced that it was overfighting that was the problem as much as some of the circumstances surrounding the fights that they were picking. At 10 minutes in, CLG find a good pick-off onto Smithy, but they chase way too far for nothing. They don't even have minion waves set up properly to get anything off any extra kills they might get, so they lose more off this situation than Immortals. Minion waves were the big issue for CLG in my opinion, and just look at where all these fights are breaking out on the map and where their minion waves are, specifically Darshan's, during them. Despite constantly winning these skirmishes, they were never able to get any objectives or CS advantages off them as their waves were always on their side. It was so bad that often Immortals actually came out ahead just by the sheer amount of time CLG was spending on these plays. One of the few times that Darshan is actually pushed up before the play happens, he decides to run down to collapse onto it as opposed to teleporting in. This allows Immortals to mostly win the fight before he actually gets there, and it's still kind of close after. So I guess what I'm saying is that I think the blame is slightly off. I obviously agree that they were having problems with split pushing, but I'm not sure it was because they were picking too many fights versus not having the proper setup or flubbing the execution. Either way, it's probably splitting hairs a little bit. The High Five Comm of the Week award is brought to you by GG Superstore. Hey, we got sponsored! Let's get that money, boys! All right, the plug. Yeah, GG Superstore is an online store for whatever esports apparel, jerseys, and other merch you might want. You can go check out their website at ggsuperstore.com, or they'll be linked in the description below. From today all the way through the 4th of July, anyone buying from the United States will also be able to get free shipping. All you need to do is enter the code MARKZ at checkout. Anyways, the actual comment of the week goes to whoever is running the social media for CLG and specifically Immortals. They had really nice banter back and forth and added some extra spice to the matchup that is usually lacking between top teams when they're playing each other. The players giving good sound bites obviously helped as well. That does it for this episode of the Blame Game. I got a really bad sunburn this week and it doesn't really pertain to anything, but I just really wanted to complain about it. I'll see you tonight for some NA LCS matches and more Delta Fox, and this weekend on the NA LCS. Until next time. The sunburn is actually from shooting a bunch of stuff for Scara's content house. There'll be some stuff probably coming out on Monday, so follow my Twitter for any updates for when that comes out.